Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. It's always a great time to talk about the gospel enlightened by Spiritism. Today, we're going to be reviewing chapter 55 of the book Our Daily Bread, which is entitled Invisible Things, and it's based on Romans chapter 1, verse 20. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Kardec Radio for opening up one of its many platforms for us to have conversations like this one. Again, Kardec Radio is available in different social media, including the X platform. And the interesting thing about the X platform is that you can submit your questions and comments, and the staff from Kardec Radio will reply to your entry. So make sure you make use of that possibility. Before we begin our conversation, let us close our eyes in prayer and thank the Lord. Thank the Lord for our day, for all the experiences that we had today, all the learning, all the effort we've put in our different activities. May we have putting blessings, love, good energy in whatever we did. And for those moments in which we could have done a better job, in which we made some mistakes, those are also learning opportunities for us. So they're also very blessed moments, again, even those moments in which we make mistakes. May God's love be with us always, so be it. Again, we're going to be talking about chapter 55 of the book, Our Daily Bread, and the title of this chapter is Invisible Things. Again, it's based on Romans chapter 1, verse 20, and it reads like this. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made. This is a very interesting passage, and especially since it was written about 2000 years ago when the knowledge of science was limited. But again, it was common knowledge for the Jews at the time, for the Christians at the time, the Jews and Christians at the time, and even some of the Gentiles who had converted to Christianity at the time, that God's creation, and then God's created the world, and based on what the work that God did, then we could understand God's invisible qualities and His eternal power and divine nature. So the same way, like Kardec indicates that you can judge an artist by the masterpiece, by the painting that he or she produces. The same thing with God here. By taking a look at the whole universe, taking a look at the world, then we can have an understanding that first of all, God is extremely intelligent, and also God is very caring as well, creating all the universe and all the laws that control it for our well-being. And when we see the whole balance in the universe, the whole balance, even as we see in nature, also the whole balance in nature, then it gives us understanding that God is also fair, that God is also just. Emmanuel goes further here, telling us that the spectacle of the creation of the universe is the most outstanding of all the manifestations against negative materialism, son of ignorance and insensitivity. So, yeah, so if we look at the universe, a lot of individuals study the universe and they, believe it or not, they have materialistic views. They believe that the universe was created by chance, and then all the laws governing the universe, they were also generated by chance as well. But again, as we look at the universe and the way we see that everything falls into place, there should be some kind of there should be an intelligence behind it, but not just any kind of intelligence, a high intelligence. And that's the concept that Kardec brings to us, this concept of God as being the supreme intelligence of the universe, that that intelligence that no other No other can even come close. And Emmanuel indicates here further that the created objects more justly address the invisible nature. So again, as we see it, look at the universe and look at the whole creation and all the laws and how everything works so in such an intertwined name meaning, so we can understand that have an understanding of God's nature. So, and then he continues, where could you find activity that unfolds without reason? Every intelligence, every intelligent form was born of an intelligence source. So we see here the law of cause and effect. And in the Spirit's book, we see a reference to that in which indicates to us that an intelligence effect has an intelligent cause. So being the universe architected in such an intelligence manner, the creator, the developer of the universe was extremely intelligent. We cannot attribute the universe just to mere chance. So we're talking about God, the supreme intelligence, the God who is so wise. Now, at this point, Emmanuel transitions to a different point. He talks about us, mankind. Well, I should say humankind. He uses the term mankind, but he meant humankind. So humankind only knows the causes of its transitory achievements, ignoring all the complex motives of each angle in the road. The exterior landscape that affects the senses is a minuscule part of the divine creations that sustains his habitat, conditioned to his possibilities of benefiting. So again, we have a very our reincarnations. Of course, we are immortal souls, but our reincarnations specifically they are very short. So what's 70 years, 80 years, 100 years of a human life compared to eternity? Nothing basically. So a lot of times we have this very limited view, very limited perspective, and also again where our senses are very limited as well. So again, everything that we can perceive, understand, and even benefit from, if we're just limited to the material world, is very limited, and it is very binding as far as our manifestations and what we can truly benefit from as immortal souls. So Emmanuel further clarifies that by indicating that the human eyes will not perceive farther than the limits of their capacity of resistance. The human being will live among the beings that requires in his task of evolvement. So again, we're very limited. Our eyes, even as disincarnated spirits, even though our capacities as we disincarnate are more expensive, but still we still have our limitations. And there's only so much we can perceive in this case. Emmanuel mentioned the eyes, but with our senses. However, even though that's our limitation, we still need what we have at this point is adequate. So we require the human being will live among the beings that he requires in his task of evolvement. So we're gonna be living the situations that are required that are the best ones for our progress, regardless of where we are. And so if we reincarnate in a particular planet, in a particular country, in a particular community, and within a particular culture, in a particular society, that is because it is the best for us. And and Emmanuel continues indicating that he he will, so us human beings will have the adequate environment required for our needs of improvement and progress. But let no one presume that the vital experience of the sphere in which we breathe is our mortal fingers are capable of touching. So again, we're gonna have the experience that we need here on earth as we are reincarnated. We are spirits, again, immortal spirits that are bound during a period of our incarnation here on Earth, and now we're gonna have limited senses, limited possibilities, and we're gonna go through some experiences. And even though we might not understand fully see the benefits of those are what is the best. Those are what is the most indicated circumstances for our improvement and for our progress. And but so we should not think that this is it, that this experience that we see here is just everything. No, there's so much more that we don't see in the universe. There's so much more that we don't see also. Even in the spiritual world, as we are disincarnated spirits, we're going to be limited to what we see and what we experience as well. Because again, being spirits in evolution, we're still also limited. We're still in need of expand our capabilities. So whatever we perceive at this stage of our progress is still very limited. So Emmanuel continues here indicating that the invisible objects in the area of illusionary forms are brief and transitory, resulting from the invisible forces of the eternal plane. So everything we see here, everything we experience at this stage of our development, is very brief, it's transitory. However, even though that is the case, there are invisible forces that are acting in our lives. There are invisible forces that are pushing us forward for for our growth, for our spiritual growth. And Emmanuel finalizes here, reminding us that fulfill the obligations that correspond to you, and you will receive the proper rights that await you. So again, we are limited in our possibilities, and we are at this time in this particular reincarnation, we're going through some experiences. So even though our eyes are limited, then we gotta do what our obligations. We gotta do what we think is right. We gotta do our best so that we have the proper rights that await for us. And the manual indicates here to us at the end that fulfill your daily obligations correctly, and you will not be required to repeat the same experience tomorrow. So again, we see the laws of the universe acting on us and requiring us to do what is correct, so that we learn our lessons, we progress, and we don't have to reincend, and so that we don't make so many mistakes, and so that we don't keep reincending in the same problems, and therefore creating impediments for our growth. Because our objective, again, based on whatever circumstances are presented to us when we reincarnate, is to do our best with what we have, and and try to not make so many mistakes, and still grow and progress and become a better version of ourselves. That is our conversation. I hope you enjoy it. And as always, make sure that you click the little like button and the subscribe button or the follow button, depending on the social media that you're using right now. Just as a reminder, again, Cardiac Radio is in several social medias, and Cardiac Radio also they have their own app that you can download from your favorite app store. And in the Cardiac Radio app, you have access to conversations just like this one, however, in a podcast type of format. At this time, again, let's close our eyes in prayer. Let's thank the Lord for the whole universe. Let's thank the Lord for our experiences, even though we still have a long way to go. And we are still so limited in our senses, in our perceptions. However, we should still try to do our best. We should still try to do what is right. Our growth seems to be slow, but what is our lives, our reincarnations, the time we spend here in each return to to a material body, what is it compared to our eternal soul? Not not a whole lot. So we should be patient. We should again recognize the opportunities that are given to us and understand what our mission is on earth, what our responsibilities are. We are imperfect and we for sure will make mistakes. However, we should try not to err so often. And even if we err, learn from those mistakes and to do better the following time. May God's love be with us always. So be it.